Hey, Angela, welcome. I'll wait just a minute or two for people to join in here. Angela, welcome. Oh, got a nice echo. I'll wait just a minute or two for people to join in here.
Hi, Steve. I don't know if you can hear me.
Welcome. Yes, yeah, got a nice echo. I've got I'll wait just a minute or two for people to join in here. Let me try to fix
Hi,
it.
Steve. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
Um,
I've got a nice echo. I'll wait just a minute or two for people to. There we go. That should be better. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Steve. Now, I don't hear the echo on my end either.
Oh, good. I just I had this YouTube link up and it I guess it was producing a loop, but
Yeah.
back. I hope you're doing well.
Uh, I'm getting along. It's been challenging. Hope things are going well for you guys.
Going pretty good. I'm sorry to hear that you're having challenges. It's
Yeah. Um, anyhow, I just
but
wanted to join in today and uh, yeah.
I appreciate. Oh, and we're actually streaming live on YouTube right now, so I don't want to, but I'll edit this part out here. In
All
fact,
right.
or at least I'll when it. Well, I just wanted to mention that. I forgot to. That's why it's got the yeah, we're things are going well. It's definitely hot here. Now you're up in Canada, I think, aren't you?
Yep, yep, we're in Nova Scotia.
Is
We're
that
just inside Halifax.
I got you. I'm trying to think. Is that close to the fires? That's not.
No, we're on the other coast.
Other side. Yeah, okay, good. Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That appears to
Yeah,
be.
last week you were saying about being on the island. Are you, is that where you were before, or are you in a new spot?
No, we live on, well, I say that it's a little barrier island, basically on the coast of, well, going up and down the east coast of the US and I think Canada too. There's, uh, there's the mainland and then there's a little waterway that's anywhere between, you know, 1,000 feet to sometimes it's a mile or so. And there are little barrier islands out there. We're on a little island called Carolina Beach, which is,
Okay.
if you ever hear of I-40, the highway, we're basically on I-40 as far as you can go, you know, to the end of it. So but
Yeah,
it's a
uh,
nice little place to live.
nice. Well, we're pretty much on the coast too. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
nice.
know. We may have driven I-40 at one point. It's been a little while, but
Yeah, it's one of those big highways. It goes, I think it goes to Barstow, California. I've never been there, but it says when you leave Wilmington's the town right by where we are, and when you leave that, it says Barstow 2,600 whatever miles. So that'd be a long drive. But
mm,
but yeah, it's I mean, I'm not sure how many people there are here. Probably 10,000 or so, 15,000. It's big enough that it has shopping centers and, that kind of stuff, but it's still small enough that it's like a little beach town. And we're only about 5 blocks from the beach. So, but it's far enough back from the main drag that it's quiet. So it's like a little residential neighborhood, but you literally
um,
just walk, less than 5 minutes and you're at the beach. So that's a nice thing.
um, yeah, we've got probably maybe a five, well, no, maybe a 10-minute drive to the beach, I guess, going down along to actually get to a beach. So
Well, that's
we're,
nice.
as the crow flies, it's probably about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds really. I love going to like I used to teach in San Francisco 4 times a year, and I would love going there. But after, and I typically stay 10 days, 10 or 11 days, and after about 5 days, I'm like, I really want to get back to where it's more calm because
Hmm.
it's interesting there and academically and all that stuff. It's much more interesting, but but it's nice just to have a lot of people drive golf carts instead of cars, um, and
Uh,
the blend is interesting because it was originally people from the southern areas, but then, well, now it's a lot of the migrants are coming in from the north, New Jersey, New York, and all. But there's a film studio that's in Wilmington, and back in the late '80s and '90s through early 2000s, a lot of people from California and a lot of really artistic and creative people moved here, and they moved to Carolina Beach because it was cheaper. And Wrightsville Beach is a beach right by us. It's probably 5 times as expensive. It's and frankly,
okay.
things a little bit uptight there, um, but
Yeah.
it's a nice kind of blend of all sorts of different folks. Let me make sure my
Thanks.
video is streaming here. There we go. Yeah. And can you see the video of me talking at the top? I was going to minimize that actually.
I can, yes. Yep.
Okay. Let's see if I can because I was actually gonna reduce that, or I guess I could just put it. It's not even showing up at all on my console here. Yeah, let's see here. There we go. Turn my video off. Will that allow? Can you see the video of the screen share? Or actually, I haven't. Can you see the
Yep, I
video
can
of the
I
screen?
can see the screen share. Yep, I can see I gotta get my glasses on, but it's oh no, you're in Chrome or something.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Well, then that because I wanted to have it so it would record, with the whole thing here. But I guess we'll wait another minute or so. This technically is where we do our question and answer stuff, but we'll go ahead and start in just a moment or two. And what I'm going to do is follow the little presentation up to where it talks about the techniques, and then I'm going to switch to the PDF and go through that.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Okay, good. Learning stuff every time with Zoom, and then when I learn it, it seems to change. So it's interesting.
Mm.
A lot of people are having trouble logging on to Zoom for some reason, which it's been well, that's another reason I'm streaming to YouTube now, but again, it's a process.
Yeah, I think the first week I just didn't have any service. There's different places in Nova Scotia that the cell service is just very low or non-existent. But then some places the service is great.
I got
So
you. That's funny how that and when you switch between, like for us, when we go on the bridge off the island, there's one cell tower on the island, but then there's another cell tower inland, and that gets in a little fight, I guess, and usually it'll drop the calls or disconnect because they're trying to switch between cell towers. But all that stuff is amazing as far as how it's advancing. Healthy or not, I don't truly know. I hope it's not as bad as some people think it is, but I just don't know. That's
yeah,
as far
but
as
yeah, it for the most part it's good. But there's once you get in the very rural areas, then it's not. They could definitely have some more towers around.
yeah, it's I'm curious if that stuff with Starlink actually works where you can connect to your phone, but
Oh yeah, yeah, it does.
Oh,
Yep.
for your cell phone or for internet?
Uh,
Or you mean the Starlink
uh,
panels? Maybe they're doing it. Wow.
I know the Starlink in the vehicles.
Oh, I get
Um,
you. Yeah. That's cool. That's amazing. It works in a vehicle moving.
yeah.
But supposedly, T-Mobile signed a deal with them where they're going to allow high-speed data and voice over data to the T-Mobile phones that support it, the latest ones worldwide. So you could literally take your phone to Shenzhen, China, and you'd connect, in there. But that just blows my mind that your little cell phone can transmit. I mean, I can imagine, well, even receiving. I don't know how good the reception would be, but that's a
Hmm.
different different time.
Yeah, definitely.
But it does. I mean, I have a grounded little mat here at my desk and a grounded mouse pad because um, in the office here where we have computers, if I put a little voltmeter to my skin, I'm 14 volts. But if I turn the computers off, it goes down to about 4 volts. But
Oh, wow.
if I touch the grounding mat, I go down to 0 volts. Now, does that matter or not? I don't know. But I did get a grounding little pad to put under our sheet, in our bed. And I don't know if it was psychosomatic uh, but we seem to feel better. But again, it may be
Hmm.
totally psychosomatic, but that is a different.
Well, no, everything is energy. So,
Yeah, that's true. And it's
hmm.
again, hopefully we'll know before too long and it's not too bad. But I guess I'll go ahead and start. Unless, did you have any questions or anything?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Um, excuse me. Welcome to week 8, connecting with your partner, which is the couples massage or the level 1 of the couples massage for high. This is a more advanced class, and what we're going to do is basically go through the manual and explain how you can break it up into chunks to make it easier to learn. But for relationships, this is a wonderful thing to have. And if you're single, you can still learn techniques to use on yourself from it. Or if you think you might be in a relationship in the future, this is a skill or have a friend that you want to give a massage. It's a very, very useful skill. And how we normally teach it is we start out with the 3-step method, which is just down the back slowly on the glute muscles. And then if they want pelvic massage, and if couples do that 1 day a week, partner A does it, and on a different day, partner B does it. So they switch places. So you both get and receive a massage once a week. But the couples massage program is kind of a next step up so you can learn new techniques. And a lot of times people get real curious how their partner will react to these when they try them. So it's just a really fun experience. So that's what we're going to be covering. Uh, the uh, the process for it, if you are doing the 3-step method, where 1 day you do a massage and then on a different day you get a massage, you can replace the normal 3-step process, or you can keep doing that for that day. But then you add in the couples massage, which I've broken it into 4 chunks that you can practice each week. But it's a very important way, and I've explained this in the 3-step method, but it's a very important way to reconnect because our lives are so busy. And actions speak so much louder than words for people. And doing this on a regular basis communicates in a fundamental way to your partner that you care for them, and them doing it for you as well. So it is a very, very good thing for relationships and for increasing connection and your health because it helps you really relax. I gave Wendy a massage or the 3-step massage last night. We have a massage chair for the back, and um, she was extremely tense in her back. So just getting that, before the weekend helps you kind of reset and feel better. Now, we've already talked about how high works, so I'll go over this real quick, but you have the blue vibratory guide, then the percussive heads, each can go 7 speeds, and then there are the optional heads, which by default, the modern systems come with the sound reduction heads installed, but you can remove those and install the higher power heads, which are a good bit louder, but they deliver quite a bit more force. So if you're going over heavy clothing or if you're massaging big muscle groups, you can't have those. Our earlier manufacturers included multiple different styles of heads, but in the last manufacturer, we just included the sound reduction and the regular because we found that those different styles really weren't used by anybody. So it was just more to have to deal with. What I always do, and people sometimes think I'm a broken record about this, but my highest priority is your safety and health. And then after that, your health improvement and relationship, but safety always first. So if you're pregnant, or think you might be pregnant, if you have high blood pressure, if you have any kind of tumor, lump, bruises, or wounded areas, if you've had surgery, I say within the last 12 months, but check with your provider to make sure it's okay to have percussive massage in those areas. If you're not feeling good or not in a good enough health state for vigorous massage, please check with your doctor first for that. Also, I throw in if you have an artificial joint or an implant, don't massage with heavy percussion right around it. You don't want to potentially shake it loose. If you have a pacemaker, don't use the percussive massage on your back around the heart area because the way the high unit is designed, it's more gentle, but it sends the percussive wave deeper into the tissue. And we've never had any issues, but I want to make sure it stays that way because I want everybody to be safe. So I always emphasize that. And also, it's obvious, but don't use the percussive heads on your scalp, face, eyes, mouth. We do have techniques with the blue vibratory guide and transmitting it through your fingers, but never, ever, ever use the percussive heads, on your face. Never use the percussive heads on the sides or front of your neck. If you have bony areas, don't use percussion on there. Anywhere that's highly sensitive or uncomfortable, don't do that. And for men, avoid percussion in particular on the testicles. That's just don't do that. So that's my sometimes boring but very important safety lecture I always go over. We list that in the manual in more detail. The next thing I always like to talk about is communication and consent. If you're giving the massage, always ask to make sure your partner wants it. Always ask before you're moving to a new part of their body. Also, watch and listen very carefully to what they say and go slowly. If you've done what we recommend for couples is you begin with the hand massage routine, which is 7 simple steps that you learn. And that teaches far more than just massage techniques. It teaches the person giving the massage, and you switch places. So both people will be giving and both people will be receiving at different times. But the person giving the massage learns the technique, but equally or more importantly, they learn to watch your partner's response. There's a technique that we teach in that, and then later in the intimacy massage program called soft eye, which in martial arts, that's a term that's used where you are kind of looking at the whole picture. You're not focused just on your opponent if it's martial arts. You're paying close attention to them, but you're also watching the whole situation. So if somebody comes from a different area, you're aware of that. Applying that to massage, you are watching what you're doing so you can do it. You're doing the hand massage or whatever kind of massage, but you're also through your peripheral vision watching your partner's face and how they respond, their breathing. Did they tense up? And it seems challenging for some people to do initially if they've never done that before, but practicing it just 2 or 3 times, and that's why we start with the hand massage, is a wonderful way to develop that skill. And that skill alone will make life a lot better for your relationship, for how well you care for your partner and just general communication. It's something that's the foundation of this. And another thing that we emphasize with that, especially when it switches to intimate areas, is people can have what I sometimes call sexual scotoma, or scotoma is a term in psychology where you have a blind spot. You don't realize you're doing something, and you just don't notice it. How that works in intimacy is many, many, many times people do stimulation that matches what they have experienced themselves, usually younger in life. Whatever worked for them, they tend to default to doing. They also tend to try, well, guys in particular tend to try to make things better. So if you're at a state that's really working for the lady, the guy suddenly changes it and does something to try to make it a little bit better, which totally derails the response, which if he's using or she's using that soft eye technique, they would hopefully notice, the change in how their partner responded and move back to that. So that's something that is a foundation of what we teach. And I've had people just rave about how that changed things when it seems so obvious. If you're receiving, this is very important to be able to clearly say what you want, because so many times people are embarrassed to ask for things, especially if it's intimate. It's astonishing. Women in Western cultures more so than men, but men to a degree as well. So if you start out with a hand massage and other types of body massage that feels safe, it's much easier to clearly say what you want, with that. Uh, Honestly tell your partner how you feel. Don't be a quote pillow princess. That is important. Um, Another key thing is if you, and you agree this with your partner, um, if you ever want them to stop, you have agreed with him and they have agreed with you, which is a key thing, they will. So there's no pressure, there's no concern, though it might break the mood or it might, whatever. You receiving the massage, this is about you. And that actually is a skill that both men and women ideally should learn because they will experience much better situations if they do that. The way the manual is broken up, and I'll go into it here in a moment, is in 4 sections. There's the seated routine, which you can also do just, um, well, anytime. I mean, each of these are 4 separate massage, actually 3 separate massage areas. I said 4, but I was wrong. It's 3. With the seated routine, you're doing the neck, shoulders, arms, hands, thighs. It's the foundation of it where they're sitting in a chair. The next step is the face down routine where they're laying down either on a massage table, couch, mattress, whatever. There you massage the back, the feet, the calves, thighs, and you can go, across the whole body really. The uh, it's just a great process. And then the face up routine is the front of the body as well as other intimate experiences. So that's um, sorry, I hit the wrong button there. That's what we'll go into next. And what we try to encourage people with this is to experiment. First, learn the foundation, but then from there, expand that and try your own variations. If you do this where you break it up, like if you're doing your 3-step method as couples, instead of doing just the 3-step, you do the 3-step and the seated routine until you learn it. And then your partner does that. And then the next week you do 3-step and the face down routine, and both for both people. And the third week you do it the face up. So it's just one way to break it up, or you can do the whole thing on an afternoon. The full body massage tends to take anywhere between an hour to hour and a half, but once you learn the easy techniques, virtually everybody that's experienced it has said that it's one of the best experiences for massage they've had. For the seated routine, I'm going to go over it and then I'm going to switch to the manual. You do the back of the neck, the shoulders, the arms and forearms, palms, fingers, and then the thighs. And with that, I will switch to the manual and you get to see a nice trip down memory lane because, let's see if I can get this to expand to full screen. Well, let's see here. Here we go. I normally use a Linux box, and this is a Windows laptop, so the layout's different. This is the PDF manual that came from our original crowdfunding, and you get to see the version 1 of the High Massager. There have been 4 major mass production iterations since then, and over 1,000 changes in the more modern units. It's kind of interesting. People started contacting me at the beginning of this year, saying they wanted a new high massager, and I'm like, well, what happened? And they said, well, it's starting to rattle or whatever. But they've been using it daily for 5 or 6 or more years, or since 2018. So our original crowdfunding products, they held up really well with daily use. So that was good to know. But what this is going to go through is, and we go through the different applications of it. We cover how it works. Our original system had a detachable cord there, but the modern one's, different layout. You have the vibrational guide or the Blue Vibe guide, the upper and lower percussive heads, your power, speed on the, well, we'll show it here in a second. This is increasing vibration. This is increasing percussion. This is reducing it. And we just go through that. These are the different, those are the high power heads. We didn't have the sound reduction or low power heads back in those days. And again, we went through all the safety disclaimers for that. The one thing I didn't mention is if you have any swelling or anything that's related to deep vein thrombosis or circulatory issues in your legs, definitely talk to a doctor before you use any percussive massage on your legs. Again, we've never had an issue with that, but we just want to err on the safe side. This is about consent and all. And now we're going to do the massage routine. So let's say it's a Saturday afternoon and partner A is going to give partner B a massage. They normally do the 3-step method. We'll just go through each step here. And the steps are the back of the neck, the shoulders, arms and forearms, palms, fingers, and the thighs. For the back of the neck, you start the percussion on a low speed, and we have some videos of this too. And you hold it on the back of the neck at the base of the shoulders. Hold it as long as your partner enjoys it. Increase the speed to whatever they like. You can also gently rock it or move it back and forth. You can go up and down slightly. This is the back and forth motion. You can go up and down, just don't rattle the base of their skull. But that's a really, really great way to relax tension in the neck. Then for the back of the shoulders, this is kind of the opposite of the crossover technique we teach for self-massage. You have the Blue Vibe guide extending over the shoulder. The upper percussive head is hitting the top crest of the trapezoid muscle. Your shoulder blade is lower. I'm assuming you can see my mouse cursor here. So you have it not on the spine, but on the soft musculature right beside the spine. And most people say this feels really wonderful. And you can hold it right there, or you can gently rock it back and forth. Another technique is you hold it in place and you gently turn in small circles with that. So, oh, I see somebody sent a message. Oh, I guess it's not a message. All right. Let me switch back. Then after you've done the back of the shoulders, you can massage the fleshy parts of the shoulder blade. You want to avoid the bones of the crest of the shoulder blade, but that also feels utterly amazing. And there is a very powerful pressure point on the trap muscle and in the middle of the shoulder blade. So if you can get that, it will help your partner in many, many ways. Then you massage with the high unit up and down with percussion on the upper arm. There's a spot you can hold the percussive head on here. For some people, that's sensitive, so turn it down low, but that is a major pressure point in traditional Asian health modalities. It's where the brachial nerve goes down, but you can hold it right there on the forearm. You can also go up and down the forearm with the percussive heads. For the hands, first take their hand, ideally, if you can, support their hand on your thigh or somewhat so they can relax. It's also important, and we teach this in the hand massage and the intimacy massage program, that basically periodically take the person's arm or leg or their body and move it slightly, shake it and just to make sure they are relaxed. Because many times, especially when people are new to massage, they will tense up and they don't get as good of an experience if they're tense. So every now and then, if you're doing their hand, just gently rock their hand back and forth to make sure their hand, forearm, and arm are loose. And if they're tense, just say, hey, try to relax. But when you do the hand, you take the percussive head, it doesn't have upper or lower, whichever fits easily, and you hold it in the very center of the palm. And you hold it there for however long they want. This is a very, very important pressure point. It also relaxes the whole hand. Then for each finger, you go up and out. And that massage unit got beaten to death. It was rough with what they used for the demo. But you basically take the percussive head and you go out each finger very slowly, and then back. Now, if they're wearing rings, it can sometimes rattle or something, but just do each finger one at a time. After you've done that, so you've done the center of the palm, and then you've gone out each finger, then you massage the thigh. I have a picture of a lady doing it because we didn't have the picture of the guy there, but you basically take the high unit, you start above your knee, and if you have an artificial knee, don't do this close to the knee, and you hold it in place, and then you rock it back and forth slightly, working your way all the way up to the top of your hip, and then you work it back down, and you do that however long they want to experience that. So that's pretty much the routine. To go over it again real quick: back of the neck, shoulders, arms and forearms, palms of hands, fingers, thighs. You go over the back of the neck, rocking it back and forth, as well as potentially moving it up and down a little bit. The edge of the shoulder, make sure you avoid the bony parts for the spine and for the shoulder blade. Then on the fleshy part of the shoulder blade, and we don't have a photo of this, but you have the percussive heads on each side, and you just go up and down and kind of move it around to massage the whole upper muscle area. Then for the forearms, you hold it on that spot with the percussive head, and you move the unit back and forth to massage the whole forearm. Support their hand, do the center of the palm, just hold it. You can hold it in place, or you can go in small circles. Either one works. Some people, it depends on the person's preference. Then work slowly out each finger. So you go from the middle of the palm to the side, and then work your way out and back a few times, and go every finger one at a time. And you would be amazed if you work with your hands or you type, how much tension is in your hands at the end of the day. So it feels really, really good. Then take the percussion, start just above your knee, not so close it's uncomfortable. Rock the unit back and forth as you work your way up the thigh and back. And that's it. So if you're doing this, on a Saturday afternoon, this will take 20 minutes or so if you do it slowly. So if you do the 3-step method, where you first do the back, and you're making your massage go from 15 to 20 minutes to maybe 40 minutes, but it's a good way to start just learning that aspect of the massage. So you do it to your partner, and then on another day, your partner does it to you. Or if you're not in a relationship and you have a friend, you try it on your friend. This is also doesn't involve any intimate contact, so it's something you can do on somebody that that you're not in a relationship with, if they want to just try to get a relaxing massage. So that's the first stage. Now, once you've gotten those things down, you move on to the second step, which is laying on the stomach. And for that, you do the excuse me. You do the let me move back here. Neck and shoulders, the back, the feet, the calves, back of thighs, and the rear. Now, again, if you have any blood clots, circulatory issues, leg swelling, do not use percussion on the thighs, because that's where clots can be, or the thighs, or particularly the calves. But talk to your doctor first if that's the issue. But first, you do the back of the neck. Now, there's some nuance to this, because if you're in a massage table and the person's face is pointing straight down because they've got that little hole the face goes through, you can put the percussive heads on each side of the neck there. But if they're laying on a bed and they've got their head turned sideways, you have to just kind of either skip this part or move down to the shoulder, because you can't comfortably put the unit there if they're laying and their head's turned sideways. It's just the way the body's positioned. But if they are with a massage table, put it just like you do for the seated massage there, and you just move it back and forth gently. Then you do the shoulders just like you did with the seated massage, on the shoulder blades, the fleshy parts. Then this is just like in the three-step method. You start at the top and you work the high unit down very, very slowly down the back. Um, you can either, what we recommend for the three-step method is you first sweep the unit moving slowly, but start at the top and sweep it down, maybe take 5 seconds, 10 seconds to go from the top of the neck or the top of the shoulders down to the base of the spine, and then sweep it back up. And then once you've done that, start at the top and hold it there for 30 seconds or so at one spot. What I do oftentimes is I hold it in place and I'll do 12 or 16 gentle circles, clockwise or counterclockwise. Um, and after I've done that many, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, I move down just a few centimeters or half an inch or an inch. It depends on how much time you have. If you have enough time, doing this technique slowly down the back can do wonders for how you feel. That's what I did for Wendy last night in the massage chair, just because she'd had a very rough, stressful week. And so you do that, gently turning it, going down a little bit, gently turning, going down, gently turning, going down. In this manual, we just have it sweeping up and down because we've learned that benefit since then. In the last 8 years, we've learned a immense amount and worked with thousands and thousands of people, particularly at conferences where a large number of people go through. When you get down to the base of the spine, or the tailbone, avoid the spine and the bony areas in the sacral region, but try to work all around that because all the critical nerves that come out, um, these are, you have the parasympathetic nerve up here, the vagus nerve, and the cranial parasympathetic also. Vagus is a cranial nerve, cranial 10. That nerve comes out down here. So if you're tense here, it messes up your ability to relax because it literally impinges the nerve. Down here at the base of the spine, those are also parasympathetic nerves. People don't usually talk about that, but all the nerves coming from the sacral, lower sacral region of the spine are parasympathetic. And many, many times people will have tension up here. They'll have tension in the middle part, which is the lumbar plexus, where you have other important nerves, and tension down here. So holding the high unit there, gently rocking it back and forth and doing that circling motion is just a wonderful thing. Just avoid anything that's bony or that hurts. We usually switch to the feet, although it depends. Sometimes people go with the rear massage, but there's a rationale for that, that it helps relax the person more if they're not quite comfortable with having their rear massaged. But basically, you lift their leg up. It's also important when you lift their leg up that you can move their calf back and forth freely, that they're not tense, because this is an area, just like holding the arms tight, that people will do and they won't even realize it. Um, this technique, we have a full foot massage program that's a 7-step program that's a separate class. But for this, we just say massage the heel in circles and then run along the edges of each foot. You can also go out to the toes and massage out each toe just like you did with the hands. And also move, I don't show it here, but move down the center line. And also, I don't mention it here, but there's a point in the middle, this is kidney 1, critical pressure point. And many times people are slightly sensitive there. But spend a lot of time after you've massaged the heel and going down the sides, just holding the unit or going in gentle circles right here. And this does wonderful, wonderful things. Sometimes people will feel a sensation going up their leg and into their lower back, and that's literally their sacral nerve, or no, sciatic nerve, not sacral nerve. That is the distal branch of that. So massage this area as long as you can that your partner likes, and then do each toe. Now, never ever do this if a woman is pregnant. But there's a spot, and it doesn't really show it that well from this picture, but on each side of the Achilles tendon, put the percussive head so it's on the soft area where there's no bone, and just massage on each side for a minute or so. This is another major pressure point that you wouldn't think benefits, but you feel a lot better when you stimulate this area. Then once you've massaged that, again, this is making the assumption that you don't have any circulatory issues. You go up and down slowly, up and down the calf. If you can, use the percussive heads on the midline of the calf. For some people, that is extremely sensitive. Uh, so if it is, do it on the sides around it. But that is where your parenteral sciatic nerve goes, and that is also a major part of the kidney line system in traditional Chinese and Korean medicine. So basically, you've massaged the foot, you've done the Achilles tendon area, and then just sweep up and down the calf. Make sure, before I forget, that you spend a good bit of time on the calves. And most people think this feels absolutely wonderful. I didn't want to skip that. After you've done the foot and the calf for one leg, switch and do the foot and calf for the other leg, because I don't have that included here. Then for the thighs. With that, put the blue Vibe Guide between the person's leg. It was originally used just as a guide. That's why we say Vibe Guide. Later, we made it vibrate because of the sacral plexus, which I'll explain here in a second. But simply start, just like the thigh massage when there was a seated massage, start above where the knee bends. Don't do it on the bend of the knee. That's a very sensitive area. And start rocking the unit back and forth slowly as you work it up the thigh until you come to where the buttocks begins. If you want, you can have the Vibe Guide on as well. And you just rock it back and forth and do that however long the partner likes it. Most people think this feels absolutely wonderful, so they'll want you to do it, quite a bit with that. And I'm seeing questions pop up. Let me see. Oh, you only see the screen share. Ah, ha, ha. Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting me know. I will go back. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see here. But at least I caught it now. All right. And I will go back to the beginning. Slight distraction there, but I'll start over. Probably be a little bit quicker this time. Basically, for seated massage, which is the first of the three groups, we're breaking this up into three separate sessions. You do the back of the neck, the shoulders, the arms and forearms, palms of the hands, fingers, and thighs. For the back of the neck, you have, and as I mentioned earlier, this is the original unit from our crowdfunding. In fact, this was one of the units before we launched the crowdfunding that was a prototype, so the modern ones look quite a bit different. But basically, just hold the unit with a percussive head at the trap muscle right at the base of the neck. And you can either keep it constant, you can rock it forwards and back slightly, or do gentle circles. You can also go up and down, or you can rock it back on the neck. You can go up and down on the neck. Just stop before you hit the base of the skull, because that will rattle your skull, and you don't want that. Just do that for a little while, however long your partner wants it. Then you move to the shoulders, which is the opposite side if you're doing the self-massage routine where you reach around and hold it yourself. But you have a percussive head at the crest of the trap muscle, and the other head, the spine is here. This doesn't truly show it that accurately, but the spine is here, the edge of the shoulder blade's here. You want the lower percussive head about right here. For the upper percussive head, don't want the bony part of the shoulder. You want the more fleshy trap muscle there. And missing the ridge of the shoulder blade bone on the fleshy area between the spine and the shoulder blade. And this is a key pressure point, and it feels really, really good. Do that gently rocking it, going in circles, whatever feels good for your partner, and do it however long they want. Then switch sides and do it on the opposite side. Then once you've done the opposite side, move down. And again, this is the soft, fleshy part of the trap muscle. And this is the ridge of the shoulder blade. Miss the bone there. There's a spot in the middle that you have a little bit of wiggle room to move around. Massaging that area in there in conjunction with this feels really, really good for people. And again, it's got a very important pressure point. For the upper arms, just move the percussive heads up and down. On the arm, you can rock it back and forth too. And it's just a great way to relax. Go up on the shoulders, just miss the bony part of the shoulder, but The upper areas are fine. For the forearms, hold a percussive head on this point right here for a little while. That has a lot of benefits, both neurologically and from traditional Chinese medicine views or traditional Korean views. Also, you can move the percussive heads up and down on the forearm and rocking it back and forth. That feels really, really good also. We're doing a simplified hand massage. We have a separate hand massage class that we teach that goes into more detail, but for this, it's important to support their palm. Either support it in your hand or ideally put it on your lap or something to support them. Make sure their arm is loose and relaxed, and hold a percussive head, either the upper or the lower one, right on the center of your palm. That is a very, very, very important pressure point. It also feels really good. Then go from the center of the palm and work it out gently to the thumb using the percussive heads, basically vibrating the fingers. This is a different sensation than most people have experienced, and it feels good. It's very relaxing. Again, there you can see this is one of our early prototypes that had been shipped all over the world, dropped, taken apart, so it was beaten up pretty bad. But it worked. Then you do both hands, just like both shoulders and the neck. Then you switch to the thighs. I have the lady demonstrating it. Taylor, her partner, didn't get a photo of this, but ideally the person should be relaxing and their partner's doing it. Start right above the knee, gently rock it back and forth, and work your way up to the crease or the top of the thigh, then work your way back down. You can also do slight circles with it if you want, where you're pressing and turning the unit, either clockwise or counterclockwise, gently, micro circles. It's up to you. Do that on both thighs. Spend as long as they want on that. They may want you to do that quite a long time, especially if they've gone running or have had a leg workout, because that really helps relax the thighs. So that is the seated massage. Again, you do the back of the neck, the shoulders, and with shoulders are 2 steps. Forearms and arms for the upper arm, forearm, middle of the hand, the palm, then out each finger, and then the thighs. Now, laying on the stomach. We're going to do the neck and the shoulders in a way that's similar to what you did with the seated massage. The back, going up and down the back. Then we switch down to the feet, the calves, back of the thighs, and then the rear techniques. And I'll try to keep a closer eye on the notes if somebody sends me a text next time. So sorry about that, guys, for not showing you the actual shot. Again, this photo doesn't display it as well as I would be ideal. We're going to do a new manual here in the future, but as I mentioned earlier, this is over 8 years old now, 9 years from our original crowdfunding. But the key thing to emphasize here is if you're on a massage table, so your head is facing straight down, you can hold the 2 percussive heads of the high unit on the back of the neck at the base of the shoulders. But if they've got their head turned to the side, the way the neck turns, you just can't really do it because you'll get the side of the neck there. So skip this if they're on a bed or a couch or the floor and their head's turned to the side. But if they aren't, if they're on a massage table, do the exact same technique you did for the seated massage. The reason we repeat some things is with this routine, this begins as a seated massage if you don't know someone well, and then it can progress to a more relaxing or intimate massage. And you repeat the shoulders and the neck to help the person get back relaxed again from moving from being seated to laying down. And this came from actually study at the IASHS and a lot of discussions with other sexologists about how to make people feel comfortable. So that's why we repeat that. After you've done the neck in a manner very similar to what you did with the seated massage, rocking back and forth, then you switch to the shoulders. Again, you have percussive head on the ridge of the trap muscle, the lower percussive head at the fleshy part of the shoulder blade. The ridge of the shoulder blade is out in this area. You avoid the shoulder blade, you avoid the bony part of the shoulder here, and you get in the softer area. Particularly in the very middle, there's a very good feeling and very powerful spot that if you just hold the percussion there and you have the upper head over here a little bit, it gives a person a lot of benefit. And do that for both shoulder blades. Definitely don't leave one out. Uh, then with this, and I will show a separate video here in a moment to show this technique. You start, what we normally do is we say begin right at the base of the neck, work down a slow sweep, 5 or 10 seconds, and then a slow sweep back up just to relax them, and then work in slow circles going down. And what I will do is show you, well, I'll show you that at the end. I'll show you a separate video of a seated technique where you're slowly going down the back. But a lot of times at conventions, I'll show you a video from a convention we were at in Miami last year where we had a massage chair, and it only took about 3 minutes to give the person the massage going down their back. But a lot of people felt like it was a 20 or 30-minute massage because the combination of the what we're doing is just so relaxing. So this is also the foundational step, first step of the 3-step method for couples. But if you just get this once a week, it will really help as far as your relaxation. Then once you've worked all the way down the back, you avoid the bony parts of the definitely the tailbone and the sacral bone here. You can rock it back and forth gently. If they're not ticklish, you can actually move it over. The vibe guide will be up here, but have a percussive head and a percussive head here. Some people, especially if they do gymnastics, martial arts, one lady we know is a pole dancer, and she gets severe tension in these flexor areas. So I'm not a pole dancer, so I don't have that pointed. I'd be pretty funny doing that actually, but I'm not very the pole. But I digress. The holding the heads here is a great thing as well. But basically, you're just relaxing this whole area. Once you've done the back, what we suggest is skipping over the rear and the thighs, go to the feet. We only have a simplified foot massage here, and we have the full class with the 7 steps if you um, you know, want to watch that separately. But basically, begin with percussion as high as it's comfortable for the person on the heel and move it in circles around the heel. Sometimes people are terribly ticklish on their feet, and what you can do is just massage the heel at as high a speed as they're comfortable, initially, and that'll get them more used to it. But some people are too sensitive to massage for their feet if they're very ticklish. But use one of the percussive heads going in a circle around the heel, however long they want. Then for here, we recommend running a percussive head up the edge of the foot on both sides to massage the outside. What I would suggest doing after you do that is then massage the center point, which is a critical point for the foot, kidney 1, and hold it there for a little while for your partner. Then for the toes, just like for the hands, this doesn't show it that accurately, but you start at the pads of the foot here and you work up and down each toe one at a time. And again, make sure to move the person's foot back and forth, gently rock their calf to make sure they're relaxed, because people will, by default, tense up. If you want, you can try the Vibe Guide on each toe. Just like I showed last week, you can also hold your fingers, and there's a finger placement for the Vibe Guide where you extend the vibration to the tips of your fingers, and you can do pressure points there and all sorts of interesting things. So you can experiment here, especially if they're not ticklish. Excuse me. Now, I emphasized this before. I'll mention it again. I apologize. It is wonderful, unless you're pregnant or think you might be pregnant, to use the percussive head on the little space between where the Achilles heel and the base of your ankle is. Don't massage your ankle bone. That hurts bad. Don't do that. But the little, sometimes it's just skin there between the Achilles tendon and the ankle. Hold that with a percussive head for a minute or two on each side. And that, again, is a major pressure point and does all sorts of good stuff. Just don't ever do it if you're pregnant. And again, if you have circulatory issues in your legs, deep vein thrombosis, intermittent claudication, any of that stuff, don't do this stuff on your legs unless you talk to your doctor. But after you've done that on both sides of the ankle and switch to the other foot, actually, I'm wrong. Do the ankle here and then switch to the calf on that leg. Um, Work your way down the calf, first rocking it going down side to side slightly as you get down almost to the bend of the knee. Work your way back up. As long as it's not too sensitive for them, use one percussive head down the back of the calf in the midline. That is a major, just treasure trove of pressure points that is really good for your kidneys, reproductive system, all sorts of stuff that just makes you feel better. So that's another powerful area to massage. But many times this spot will be very sensitive, particularly the spot right in the middle of the calf at the midline. So don't do it if it's too intense. After you've massaged the calves, do the other calf or other foot, other calf, then work up to the thighs. Begin at close to the bend of the knee and move the high unit back and forth. You can turn the vibe guide on if you want for this, as well as the percussion. Have it as high as is comfortable for your partner and high intensity, I mean. And then just rock it back and forth and slowly move it up, going up the thigh until you get to the crease of the rear, and then work the way back down. This vibration stimulates, well, the crotch, but it also stimulates the inner line of the thigh where you have a huge number of lymph nodes. They're there and they're also in the front of the thigh. So do that. Take your time as long as your partner wants that. Then, if ideally, switch around to the other side. You can move the unit over if you want, but ideally switch to the other side and do that from the other side up as well. One thing I want to mention, this unit's, again, I guess 9-year-old unit, is using the high power heads. These heads are more powerful. However, they have a gap that makes a clapping noise when it runs, which is louder. But the key thing is if you're unclothed and you have the high power heads, you need to be exceptionally careful, because if you turn the high unit to its side and it gets in a crease of skin in the rear, which there's a little crease here that tends to easily get caught, that can pinch, and that is a bad thing. So if you're doing this massage, have them clothed, put a towel over them, or use the sound reduction heads because they don't pinch. They have a continuous covering that goes all the way up. But that is something that is important to be aware of, because pinching is not the best thing for the mood for the massage. So do both thighs up to the rear. Then for the buttocks, and actually, to correct myself, sometimes I do the thigh going up to the rear, and then I switch into the thigh going up to the rear this side. But technically, by our method, you do both thighs and then the rear. But the vibe guide plays its role here from the front and the back, that it becomes the pivot point of a fulcrum. And you move it back and forth, and then you start moving the unit this way, like you're fanning it. And the vibe guide keeps it in the right spot. And you can turn the vibration on as high as you want for that. That has stimulation that's beneficial as well. But there is an important method for this. This is showing it rocking back and forth with the vibe guide. And again, back and forth, back and forth. The thing that hopefully we'll have, yeah, here we go. The vibe guide allows you to approximate the right location when you're fanning up and down here like that. The spot roughly in the middle, and we have a separate video that has all sorts of great diagrams to show this better. But there's this point called the sacral plexus inside under the glute muscle in the buttock on each side. Your sacral nerves that all come out of the base of your spine, the pudendal, the hypogastric, the sciatic, those are the big ones, a few others. They all come out. There isn't a pelvic nerve, there's pudendal nerve. They all come out separately, but then they go together and form a little node. And that's called the sacral plexus. There are plexus at multiple points along our body, and you'll find the shoulder massage, the back massage, this rear massage, also the massage on the forearm are all targeting those plexus areas. it's not truly understood what those things do, why they have the nerves go out separately and then they merge in together. But with some of the newer fMRI analysis and all, it appears that they are literally like little mini middle managers for your nervous system. So the nerves go out to do their job, but then they go into a little manager to kind of process and handle stuff without having to send it up to the spine and the brain. And interestingly, a lot of these plexus areas correspond to areas in traditional Asian, Chinese, Korean, and Indian metaphysical things. So it may be these people could feel something in those areas, and that's why they came up with the theories and the models that they have. And they actually correspond to physical locations in the body. Don't know for sure. But you got this plexus right here. What I found when I was in grad school and doing research was that when women and men, but more so in women, had trauma, PTSD, particularly from sexual assault, their shoulders would be tight, their middle and lower back would be very tight. Shoulders are where your vagus nerve are, middle and lower back, lumbar plexus, and then the sacral nerves. And the band of muscle here would be very tight. Those are all the areas that are essential for getting nerve signal to work. If they're tense, you impinge the nerve and you reduce the function. So doing this fanning motion and then spending some time staying right there, that can be sensitive in some people. So if it is sensitive, don't press too hard. But that can do wonders for pelvic health. I saw no medical claims, but I saw so many people that after they got this massage, their issues with pelvic pain, urinary incontinence, a whole host of things, just kind of got better on their own. And so again, each person's case is different, and I'm not making any claims about a benefit there, but give it a try if you can get a massage like this and see if it helps. Um, but again, the Blue Vibe Guide acts as your guide, the fulcrum of your pivot as you fan up and down here. And this, again, feels really, really good. Guys love this too. It's just you be careful with the Blue Vibe Guide on the testicles. You do not want that. You do not want percussion on the testicles. So make note of that. But this and this is the second technique in the couples three-step method. The first technique is going up and down the spine slowly, and then the second technique is the fanning motion. You can switch to a point that stimulates the pelvic floor. Basically, this upper percussive head is right below the tailbone, right around the anal region. This is right around where the mons pubis is. The Vibe Guide can be down or it can be back. That is, you can gently rock it back and forth. Also, having a pillow under the belly can help align things better. But this can be very, very beneficial for all sorts of things for women's pelvic health. And it will, from a biohacking standpoint, if you do it right, it will reset things fundamentally in ways that your partner will appreciate, female partner. You can do this on men, but just do not hit the testicles with that. This is another thing that particularly guys need to be very cognizant of or aware of. I mentioned this with the hand massage to do the soft eye to pay attention, but guys will get this uncontrollable urge to make things better when they see the woman breathing hard. And then they start moving things around and it totally stops what was working. So once you find a spot, leave it there. And ladies, your communication requirement is if the guy moves it from a spot that's not right, let him know or physically help move it back. This is not an easy way to physically do yourself in this position, but at least let them know. But the key things here are avoid the tailbone. Don't have it on the tailbone. That would be painful. And go below and have the lower abdomen, the bend of the hips with a pillow down there to raise them up slightly. Now we're going to do the back or the front facing massage. To review the back real quick. You go up and down the back and the shoulder, well, wrong thing here. You do the neck and shoulders here, shoulder blades. You do the back up and down slowly. You skip, you go to the feet, then you go to the calves, back of the thighs. And we showed 3 separate techniques for the rear for that. When I go over that. We have a video on the women's part of the three-step method. I go to and I give a lot of detail, and we have a video explaining that. So that's on our YouTube side if you want to see that, or mention it to me at the end if you want, and I'll send you a link to it. But again, back of the neck, shoulders, back, lower back, feet, toes, going down the calves, thighs, then the buttocks. And we have it broken up into 3 techniques. We've actually refined it quite a bit since we did this originally. So that is the technique when you're laying down. Again, if you're breaking this up into 3 separate sessions, or a total of 6 sessions, 1 for each partner, you've done the seated session on 1 week. The next week you do where you're laying down on your stomach. And then the final week you do it where you're on your back. For that, you do the thighs, analogous to the thighs on the laying forward one, the ears, the chest area, the abdomen, and then 3 different pelvic areas. Now, again, I didn't have a good diagram for this at the time. We've got a great video that explains it, though. Basically, you first start with the percussive head on each side, right above the knee. This is very similar to the technique when you're seated. And you just work your way, rocking back and forth up the thigh till you get to the top, and then you work your way, rocking back. And you just repeat that as many times as they want. There is a point down here. You need to make sure you get the muscular part of the front of the calf, that if you use a percussive head on it and hold it there for a minute or so, you can notice a difference in how it feels. It feels really good when you hit the right spot. That is a very powerful pressure point that some recent studies have actually found that when with electro acupuncture, this area and an area on the inside of the ankle was stimulated in animals and in humans. An increase in free stem cells was released in the blood, which is pretty cool because those spots are spots used for longevity in traditional Korean and Chinese medicine. So spend some time massaging there too. It feels good and it's good for you. Just avoid the middle line of the calf because that's your shin bone and painful. Don't do that. So rocking back and forth, working your way up slowly, and then back down. For the ear, you can use the vibe guide on the ear, but that is harder to control unless you're really experienced with it. It's also a little loud, but there's a technique which I will show. We showed this in the facial program last week, but I'll show that again at the end of this of how to hold the vibe guide with your fingers. But it's best to use your finger and first gently pinch the lower earlobe and vibrate that whole region. Then work your fingers around the outer edge of the ear, of the lobe, going to the top area. If you can, reach around and gently with your fingers press, and I'll show you this technique at the end, and massage the ear with the vibration going. For some people, this is way too ticklish. Hopefully not, because it has amazing benefits. And then the final technique is you put your finger in the person's ear and you reach in and you gently press forward so it presses on the ear canal while it's vibrating. There's a little branch of the vagus nerve that is very powerful that's right here. And that just really helps you relax if you vibrate that. So again, I will go into that once we stop the screen share as far as how to hold the vibe guide for that. For the chest, and you can do this on men too, you can use the vibe guide, go in circular arcs around and work your way up. And finally, the center point on the nipple, use the vibe guide there. Multiple studies have been done on men and women that have shown that if you do this, take your time on it, it causes a major release in oxytocin in men and women. And as we mentioned in the beauty, well, I didn't go into a lot of detail in the beauty program, but as we go in the more detailed program, we go into this in a lot of depth. Oxytocin has been found to be absolutely essential for long-term health. What appears to happen in women it doesn't appear, this has been shown, is after the late 20s, early 30s, particularly if they are chronically stressed and have elevated cortisol all the time. Collagen synthesis, the the different enzymes, metallase enzymes and all that break down collagen become more active, and the collagen synthesis enzymes become less active. If you have elevated cortisol, stress hormone, and you have low oxytocin. And Dr. David Weeks, really interesting researcher, he did a analysis of, well, many different studies, but one analysis was over 3,000 people, mostly women, 18 to I think 90s was the oldest. And the person would walk into a room and they held a little number. They'd say their name, they'd turn around, they'd walk out. And the people behind a two-way mirror would answer a bunch of questions, a little checklist of how old they thought they were by decade, how healthy they were, various other parameters. Then the person that did that, and they had their little ID number that was on the little thing, they walked and sat in a room and filled out a really detailed questionnaire. It's about 30 minutes for them to answer. They asked them all sorts of things about their lifestyle. And what they found was for women that consistently looked a decade or more younger than they actually were, there were three very, very common things that happened. The second most common was, third most common was moderate weekly exercise. Second most common was a good diet. But by a large shot, the most common thing that was associated with looking younger was women had 3 or 4 intimate experiences a week, either with a partner or without. And that was real controversial back in the 80s when that first came out. They kind of avoided that answer. But what has been found in cell culture studies, animal models, and blood tests on humans is if your oxytocin drops, more so in women apparently than men too, and your cortisol is elevated, your ability to produce collagen grinds to a halt. So you can take all the collagen supplements, you can get microneedling, you can get the lasers, you can get all that stuff. But if your body's not producing the fundamental building block that you need, you're still going to have the wrinkles in the face, the sagging in the body will increase, all that stuff that people try to avoid both for aesthetics, and it's important for your long-term health because your pelvic floor integrity, organ prolapse is heavily associated with reduced collagen production, sagging in the breasts, hernias, periodontal problems, all these things go hand in hand with reduced ability to produce collagen. So by getting back to what I was originally talking about, stimulating this area, other than the pelvic massage, which is the giant reset button, this is a very, very effective way to increase oxytocin production, both in women and men, which is quite interesting. But again, it is essential to play, number one, make sure you have consent. Number two, pay very close attention to your partner to make sure that they want you to do what that it's not too sensitive, too ticklish, etc. But that is a whole art into itself that you can do with this technique. For the abdomen, there are a few different techniques. One of the original techniques that this was discovered with Wendy was for softening tissue adhesions from the C-section surgery we had where we lost our child. And what I found was if you put percussion, and that's how the percussion with the high unit is different from other ones, here and here, you got your edge of your hip up here, you have the vibe guide going off it, starting low, don't have it too high if it's too sensitive. This again acts as a fulcrum where you pivot from, and then you move the unit slowly up and down on the sides. Then you switch sides and then you do it the other way. This percussive head will send a shock wave into the bladder that compresses the bladder several thousand times a minute. Make sure you've urinated beforehand because it'll make you feel like when you hit the right spot, you will feel like you have to urinate if you have any amount of urine in your bladder. And what that does, or at least appears to, that's very beneficial, is by sending those shock waves into the bladder, sending the urine shock wave to make you feel like you need to urinate, the internal urethral sphincter, which keeps you from losing your urine, has to constantly spasm and contract to respond to that stimulation. So you're working it out. It's like you're sending your urethra to the gym. So that's a very handy technique. It's also very handy for premenstrual cramps and other areas. But if you have any kind of pain or any abdominal pain, uh, don't do it at all. But and use it on the lower settings if it, use caution here with that, because the abdomen is a sensitive area. The next is the first pelvic massage technique. This is, and in other training programs, we go into great detail on this. The key here, though, is the upper percussive head is above the pelvic bone. The lower percussive head is below the pelvic bone. This sends a shock wave that you'll feel in your bladder. It also travels down deep into the vaginal area. This sends a shock wave into the mons pubis, which travels far down through the clitoral area and urethra, etc. So basically, you hold it in that position and you let the woman align it ideally to the right spot. Because unless you are a very advanced practitioner, which you can tell by how somebody arches their back, but if you're not at that level, the partner or the woman has to let you know where to position this. You will not be able to tell. When you find the right spot, don't have the vibe guide on initially, because if you have that on, it will distract the woman and she'll pay attention to that and not align the percussive heads right. So have the vibe guide off, turn on your percussion slowly. We also suggest sometimes, if women, particularly if they're older, put a tiny amount of coconut oil or some kind of lubricant on their labia, because the percussion can cause the labia to slide back and forth, which if they're dry, it doesn't feel the best. I'm not female, but that's what I've been told. That is a general good idea. Even if you're clothed, that's a good idea. But you have the percussive head above and below the pelvic bone. You get it to the right spot. You turn it on percussion slowly, and you just leave it there. There are some advanced techniques beyond that we won't go into, but that's the foundation you need to master. If it is too sensitive on the clitoris or the clitoral structure, you can move the percussive head slightly to either side, so it's not directly on it. But this sends a shock wave that massages not just the clitoris and the shaft, the glands, the shaft. It massages the crura internally, all sorts of things. That is very beneficial, because they always talk about ED for men, but women get that just as badly internally in their clitoral and crura and all. It's just their blood vessels are far smaller than men's blood vessels in the penis. And a lot of times this reduced circulation due to arteriosclerosis, due to all sorts of things, is told, oh, that's hormones. You need hormones. But actually, you just have poor circulation. This is a really good way to stimulate circulation, at least based on my observations. So that's the first technique. After you've gotten the percussion going right, turn on the vibratory guide. And there are many, many, many advanced techniques you can do, for pelvic massage that we have a separate class for. This goes into that in slight more detail. And this talks about making sure that and this does send a percussive wave deep into the uterus, which that is part of what led me on the wild goose chase, because it was inducing orgasm in women. And we couldn't understand why from the abdomen. And it appears to be a distal branch of the vagus nerve that's going down there. So that's the first technique. The second technique, which is actually different from what we teach in our main pelvic massage class, is just using the vibratory guide. And that's more like a traditional vibration, but you can figure that out yourself. It's it's not hard. Then the third technique, which again is slightly different from our pelvic training class, this is an old manual, is you have the key here is you have the pelvic bone. The percussive head had been above here and below here. Now it's below the pelvic bone on the mons pubis. The lower percussive head is on the rectal area, and the vibratory guide goes under the tailbone. It's a good idea to have a pillow under the rear to raise the person up if they can for that. This is profoundly stimulating for the pelvic floor, and very good for the pelvic floor in general for toning it and increasing many, many different areas. This again is a area that the woman has to guide the person to find the right spot. and then you leave it there. And if you, women will very characteristically have what's called vagal breathing or a belly breathing pattern when they're stimulated. And guys will get an uncontrollable urge to start rocking this back and forth and making it better. And it's not, it makes it worse. So let the woman guide it to the right spot and then leave it there. And if it gets out of the right spot, the woman has to let the guy know or her partner know, it's out, and put it back in. And if you just follow those simple steps, you'll get really amazing results. But what I've found, circling back to that sexual scotoma area, is one situation, which I've told before, but I have a friend that's literally a rocket scientist. He has 2 PhDs and he builds rockets. I won't say who he works for, but he bought one of our units in crowdfunding, and he lived in San Francisco. Appreciated that. And then I went on about my way, and I emailed him and called him a couple times, asking him how it would go, and he changed the topic. And then I mentioned, hey, I'm going to be going to San Francisco, to teach here in a couple weeks. How's it going with High? And he considered himself kind of an expert in intimacy. And he's like, hey, brother, man, I love you, man, but that thing just doesn't work. It kind of gets her there, and then it just leaves her stuck hanging. And I'm like, what? And I tried to explain it to him, and he swore up and down he was doing exactly what I said. And I sent him the videos, the manual. He was following it to the letter. Well, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to be doing live testing and demos. That's why we went to the IASHS, because it's the only group in the US that would allow that. And he and his wife are pretty open-minded. So, we're kind of Burning Man culture. And so they met us there, and he about drove Wendy up the wall, because Wendy was teaching the class. This was back in 2018, I think. And 2017, a good while ago. But basically, he decided he'd demo it. And so his wife's on the massage table in front of the room. There are about 75 people in the auditorium. And he holds it in the exact spot that it needs to be for position 1. And then his wife starts breathing hard. And he shifts it, and he starts moving it around. And she's breathing hard, but then she's like, ah. And Wendy's like, you're moving it. He's like, no, I'm not. And she literally had to tell him 5 or 6 times. It's like he didn't get it. He literally was not perceiving that he was moving it. And finally he got it, and it worked perfectly. And what I learned from that, and from many other experiences, is the smarter the guy is, the more likely he's going to have that. So, so just be aware of that, because that is the one gotcha that can happen with High. You have to hold it in the right spot, and you have to leave it there. So I know I've been into great detail for that, but I wanted to emphasize it because it's important. Once you have done this, there are a lot of variations, but you can do some really, really cool things. And it works over clothing. It doesn't have to be over clothing. Being over clothing is beneficial for women in many cases, because if they have body image issues, just the slight, even if they're married to you for a long time, that slight concern impacts their ability to relax. So it's something to consider. So that's the general method. Now, the technique for men is virtually identical, except it has the male techniques, which we have a separate class for that. But I'll go over the technique again real fast. No, forget it. Back to the right spot. Okay. You do the thigh massage, the ear, chest, abdomen, pelvic. Thigh, rocking back and forth, going up and down the thigh. The points on the calves that are very beneficial if you want to do that. For the ears, in a moment here, I'll show you how to hold the Vibe Guide to do that. And in this modality, and this follows a general ear massage routine, it works great. You pinch the bottom earlobe and grasp it and move it around slightly with the vibration. Then you go at the outer crest of the ear to the top, then inside, and you put your finger in the ear auditory canal, and you gently press forward with the vibration. The chest, you just go in circle, make sure you have consent. Just go in circles around, working your way up to the nipple. That you can do ideally slowly, and once you learn how to read your partner's response, you can um, do really, really cool stuff. Because especially if you develop that soft eye technique and can read your partner, you can refine this, and that is a two-way street. Because and again, we've seen this at live presentations and training things and all sorts of stuff. But not only does the person giving the massage get better in how they move and do the technique, the person receiving the massage after several days or several weeks of sessions actually develops more sensitivity and more nerve sensation. So there's lots of benefits for that. And it does cause a massive, massive release of oxytocin. The only other is the pelvic massage, which produces more. The abdominal massage, we're showing just one technique here. You have the vibe guide. The handle would be down here. Percussive head, vibe guide. And you turn it on slow, low settings, and you move it up slowly, and you just arc it in a fanning motion. This can have a lot of benefits for many, many different things, but if it's sensitive, don't do it. But that's a great technique for, just a whole host of issues. For the pelvic massage, this is position one. The key thing is the pelvic bone is in the middle, and you have the upper percussive head above the pelvic bone, lower percussive head below it. The woman guides at the right spot, and you leave it there. And if you move it, the woman needs to let you know and move it back to the right spot. Basically, I just went over that. Then this is just using the vibratory guide for pelvic massage. That's another option. And then massage level 3, the key point is the pelvic bone is up here. The percussive head is below on the mons pubis, and on the rectal region, the vibe guide goes under the tailbone basically. And it's good to have a pillow under your back if you can, to make that easier. So those are the techniques. There's a whole universe of techniques beyond that. This is the level 1 class. We teach more advanced classes with all sorts of things, but that's the general idea. Now let me switch back to Zoom if I can. I'll turn my camera on. All right. And next I will show the techniques for the vibe guide. Make sure that we've got the. All right. You have it plugged in. I've got the 3-meter extension cable, which makes things much, much easier because it just lets you move the unit around. You hold the button in 4 seconds, beeps, turns red. The vibratory guide is on the right side if you're facing it this way. I don't know if you can hear it or not. But you put it at whatever level you want. There are many different ways to hold this. What I typically do is I grasp it like that. So I grab the vibe guide here. The main motion is coming from right here. That goes into the base of my fingers and it goes out to the tips. You can also do a pinching motion like that. And that's handy. And I do the pinching motion for the ear. In the old days, when we had the crowdfunding and the original class, we would use the vibe guide on the ear, and you can do that. That is a whole process and art into itself. That can be very ticklish. But with this, you grab it, take your fingers, and you hold on your eardrum or your earlobe, and you gently pull. You can also increase and you can gently, I don't know how well you can see this, go around. Then you take one finger and you go on the outer edge, or you can grab it like that. The big picture is just getting vibratory stimulation to these posts from your ear. How you deliver it is up to you. And after you've done that area, you reach inside the eardrum and you pull forward slightly. So you stimulate that aspect of your vagus nerve. And if you do that to yourself, it's relaxing. So that's the technique for that. Last week we showed how to do that, for different points here. So that's the general technique. And that is the summary of the manual for the couples massage program. Um, I'll switch back to the presentation to just finish things up here. Okay. So we've talked about the seated routine, back of the neck, shoulders, arms and forearms, palms, fingers and thighs. Face down routine, necks and shoulders along the back, off the spine, feet, toes, calves, back of the thighs, and the rear massage. And then the intimate work, you can do the abdominal massage, or basically the ears, and then the chest, and then the abdominal massage, and then the 3 pelvic massage techniques. The key thing to emphasize for this with your partner is you need to take turns on these things, because I've seen many times, and this helps even in this. It's just not as good. There's good, better, and best, as dear guide Master Chen Yi Lin says. Um, uh, Basically, in some relationships, it'll just be the guy massaging the woman, or sometimes the woman massaging the guy. At least that's helping. But if you do it together as a couple, it really adds an aspect to your relationship that's a good thing. So it's important to give and receive for both women and men. And it's better to do this regularly, once a week. This can be an extension of the 3-step method. With the 3-step, we talk about mudita, the emotion of getting pleasure by seeing that your partner's happy and getting pleasure. And people think, well, how do I get that from this after I've mastered the 3-step? Well, this gives you new stuff to practice. So, and your partner will react differently, and usually in a good way, to each of the different techniques. So it gives you new experiences to share. And the manual does give you guided things. We have more detail in our online training. And in the future, we will get more sports models to demonstrate this. It's not in the queue for schedule right now, but that is something we have for long term here. So that's the general idea. There are a multitude of ways you can do this, and actually we say new places, but it's best to have a massage place in your house. We've already talked about that, and we'll have a separate class on that, setting up your bedroom or somewhere that you regularly have. But it's also great to take on vacation and things like that. There are much more advanced techniques with this that we don't have that in the 16-week cycle, but we have a very cool pressure point routine that basically takes multiple different beneficial processes that they do in traditional Asian approaches, and you learn 4 different pressure point routines with high. So you learn each routine separately, and if you do the routine, it hits all the areas for that particular benefit, and it's just good for overall health. And we haven't done this in quite a while, but we ourselves have had high instructors at different resorts around the world teaching this. That probably will happen in the future more, and we will have live classes at biohacking conferences and all. It won't be the couples intimate stuff, but it will be general training. Between classes, looking at the manual, make sure you understand the safety stuff, and then just get a place set up, that you can do this. That's the key thing, and try to make this a part of your weekly lifestyle. If you do, I promise you, it will benefit you in ways that you don't even realize if you haven't done it yet. The final thing I wanted to say for this is, again, high is for people that are next level, people that are actively wanting and trying to improve their health and take care of their partner. And I applaud you for that. And one thing to think about when you're doing this in your relationship, you're taking the time to get to know your partner better, to understand and communicate better. You're showing up, you're demonstrating on a physical level you care for them, and you're making them feel safe and cared for. So it's just a really good thing to do, and it's also something to work into your identity as a couple. Or if you're not in a relationship, have this as your identity for yourself, that you will be able to provide that for your partner and receive that from your partner in the future if you plan on being in a relationship. So there's something about defining yourself that goes a long way to actually get the actions to keep happening. You know, that's a long story, but I just wanted to mention that. So that's the general idea. Um, the If you have any questions, I will be here to answer them, or you can always email me or post it in the online community. And we'll have office hours next week to go over it. And then we will do next week's class in a week. But thank you all so much for attending this. And if you do have any questions, let me know. I am here to answer anything that I can. And if I don't know it, I will find out if I can and let you know. So, any questions or anything? And that's okay if you don't either. All right. Well, I tell you what, thank you so much for attending. This is streaming to Zoom, and it will, I will chop off the ends and all on it, and it'll be up there. Eventually, it'll be in the private section for our training. Excuse me. But we will be back next Saturday at 1 p.m. East Coast time. And as always, I appreciate you guys. And take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your partners. And as we say, nobody gets out of here alive, so we might as well enjoy the road. It's kind of morbid, but it's a good thing to ponder because you should make the most of every moment. Take care, everybody. I'll see you soon.